This is Randy, the Swiss frog guy, and I'm deep in the Ecuadorian jungles, checking out this beautiful boa imperator. Actually, I'm lying. I'm standing here in my living room, and this is the terrarium I built, and this is the tree that I built. I made this tree entirely out of spray foam, then I molded the bark completely from a real tree that I cast using silicone rubber, and there's a space inside for them to hide. There's an infrared light in there, and then importantly, there's a heat mat on top that'll attract the snakes and give them a space to bask. One of the most important steps of any project is to do a little background research, and that's exactly what I did. I headed outside and I just took a look at real trees, real bark, and looked at real vines and tried to get an idea of how they fit together. Then I headed online and I checked out all sorts of videos, and not just from terrarium builders. From Halloween decorations to Hollywood sets, there are so many ideas out there, I needed a plan. First of all, I wanted to hide for the snake so he could feel secure. And second, I wanted a place where he could sit, where you could see him. And of course I wanted to make something that was inexpensive and something that other people could make, but most of all, something that was cool. My next step was to make a 3D model of my plan. Tinkercad is available online, it's completely free, and it's really easy to figure out how to use. By making a 3D model ahead of time, I was able to experiment with different ideas as well as how to fit the tree into the terrarium. This way I could do all my experimenting virtually and avoid wasting expensive materials. With my plan in place, I was ready to make a tree. Today is foam time. My goal here is to try to build a tree. Polyurethane foam is water curing, so this is to accelerate it. And it doesn't stick to polyethylene. This trash can is also out of polyethylene, but food film is cheap, then I figured I would just wrap the trash can. And a major step before foam is gloves, because stuff is a mess. I used a normal garden trash can as the basic mold for my tree. I just flipped it upside down, wrapped it in plastic wrap, and started spraying. If you've never used spray foam before, it's super goopy stuff. I found it works the best if you just work slowly and steadily and work on vertical bands instead of horizontal ones. And always keep the can upside down. Polyurethane foam cures in reaction with air and moisture, so you can spray it to speed that up. Spray foam isn't the easiest to control. You can't be too precious about it. But that's just like nature. All those imperfections will make it great in the end. Then again, I found if you move too fast, it'll sag under its own weight. So there's kind of an optimal speed you'll get a feel of just working with it. Normally spray foam cures with a lot of air in it, but I found that I could compress it, and this resulted in a harder, firmer, stronger final result. But do this only when the foam is half cured or you'll get it all over yourself. With the basic structure in place, I then disguised the shape of the can by adding side roots with wadded newspaper and covering them with spray foam. I didn't really like the results of trying to press texture into it, so I decided to attack this later. One of my main goals for this project was to provide a show spot where Willie could hang out where I could see him, and one of the best ways to do that is to provide a source of heat. But my tree's based on foam, which is originally designed to be an insulator, and it doesn't transmit heat well. But ceramic tiles do. By sandwiching a heat mat between two tiles, I could capture that heat and then let it radiate evenly over the day. Using a pair of pliers, I carefully snipped the ceramic tiles into the shape of the top of the tree. Then using spray foam, I completely embedded the sandwich into the top of the tree. This way, when the tree went into the final terrarium, it would put a show spot exactly where I wanted it. And since the ceramic tiles are basically silica, they're super durable and behave essentially like natural rock. I get to the final electrical wiring later because it's time to start carving the tree. With the basic foaming done, it was now time to refine the tree into something that looked a little more realistic. Foam is really easy to carve with just about anything, a knife, a razor blade, even breaking it apart with your hands. To make the carving easier, I put the tree on an old Lazy Susan I had lying around that I got from IKEA. This way I could turn it around and work on it from any angle. My goal here was just to kind of break up the foam look and make it look more like a tree. I did most of my heavy cutting with a serrated bread knife, but I found that small box cutters were great to work through finer details. The chips build up pretty quickly and it gets pretty messy, so be sure to lay out a tarp. I saved some of the bigger pieces, and I was glad I did because they came in really handy when I was putting together the main terrarium background. At this point, I was mostly trying to get the tree roots to look as realistic as possible. I knew I would add the tree bark texture later. I can't emphasize enough how important it was for me to just go outside and take a look at real trees and see how they really look. I'd seen a lot of examples of trees that were carved that just kinda didn't look convincing to me. My goal for this project wasn't really to duplicate any one particular species of tree. And of course, there aren't tropical trees in Switzerland, but there are trees and there are roots, and they give great inspiration to get something looking realistic. And speaking of realistic, you can already see the tree bark that I had cast from real trees in the background here. I explain all about that in part 2 of this video. I didn't want to overwork the carving too much because I was going to cover it with bark anyway, and plus, if you handle it too much, it gets kind of oily and nasty. Instead, what I found worked the best was to just follow the natural structure of the foam and let it decide what the final structure of the tree was going to be. Remember, one of my main goals for this tree was to make a hide, so it was time to take out the trash can and start making a space where Willie could climb inside. Because I had really compressed the foam as I was building the tree, I didn't need that trash can support anyway. With the trash can out and the tree upside down, I could see inside and see exactly what needed to be reinforced. And importantly, this gave me a chance to hide the electrical wiring so it wouldn't be visible later. It was a bit nerve-wracking, but I took a deep breath, chose a side, and just cut a hole in the side of the tree. Once I got a hole I liked, I reinforced the edges with some foam and it was ready to go. At this point, I was really happy with how the tree was developing. There was a basking area on top, and there was an entrance to get inside. The only thing that was missing was a little bit of lighting. I didn't want to disturb Willie in the hide, so I went with a USB LED lamp. These lamps can be plugged into any USB phone adapter. They're dim so they won't disturb him, they're easy to change, and most importantly, they're low temperature so there's no fire risk. An electrical socket and charger could be easily mounted inside the top of the tree, and now is the time to do it. There are a lot of different options for USB lamps, so I had to choose which one would be just right. I wanted a lamp that would allow me to see Willie, but not be so bright that would disturb him, and ideally, one that maybe I could change the colors. The first one I checked out was kind of like a lightsaber. It could change colors and strobe, but it was just too bright. I tried another one with much lower power, but it was just too dim and it could only do one color. The last one I tested was exactly what I was looking for. It was just the right brightness. You could choose between any one of 7 colors, and as a cool feature, it would automatically turn off when there was bright light around. Besides, I found a much better use for the other lamps anyway. At this point, I was pretty much ready to take the tree to the next step, which was to mold this bark and make it ultra realistic. Making this tree has been a lot of fun, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I did putting it together. I hope you'll stick around for the next part in this video series, where I go out and mold some actual tree bark using silicone rubber and then cast that using polyurethane foam. I really do appreciate you watching, and I'd love to get your feedback. If you have any ideas, comments, anything, leave them in the comments below. And in the meantime, if you like this video, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, like, and ring that bell, because I'm putting out more videos about my terrarium and all the things I'm building here as soon as I can. Till then, bye!